All right, y'all, so I get a lot of questions about this brake pressure bleeder from Snap-on. I will tell you, I don't always recommend it, but I've used it a ton, and a lot of people have asked to see it in action, so I figured I would do a good thorough video of me using it and just my process of doing a brake fluid service. So what I start off by doing is I will take my little Mighty Vac here, and I will, and obviously some of this is going to be a little difficult doing one-handed. Zoom this out a little bit. And I will suck out all the original fluid starting off first. So I apologize for the noise. I cut out some of that because I figured you guys didn't want to hear this Mighty Vac running the entire time. So I will pull out all the original fluid that's in there now. And then next, what we do is we fill up our system here. What you do on this now, one of the modifications I made on this was this spring, because this hose kinks up. That was one of the first things I had to warranty on this. So I got this spring so that way it doesn't kink the hose. I've had to warranty the adapters a few times as well, but it is what it is. All right, so you close off your top there, and then you connect the bottom. That's going to pressurize the bladder. There's a bladder in there that holds the fluid. Now that that's pressurized, you need to bleed out the container, or the air out of the hose and stuff. So all I do is I just take it over to my, you're not going to be able to see this, but I just take it over to my oil drain, and I just open that top valve a little bit, bleed out all the air. You don't want to put that air through the system, obviously. You read the directions. It tells you to do that, but like someone messaged me recently and said, if you don't bleed it out, I'm like, well, the directions tell you if you bleed it out, or tell you to bleed it out. All right, so I'm gonna bring you over here so you can actually see something. So I put this adapter on there. This one's a little easier because it's easier to access. And that is on there. So now our adapter is on there, locked down. And I think that's, yeah, there we go. That's good. So then I'll open this top valve, and that fills up our reservoir. As you can see, it'll obviously get to a point where it stops, unless your oil seal is not sealed, which maybe mine is not. I need to look around and see. Yep, it's not, so glad I stopped that. You guys get to see all this real time. So then that's one of the things I was gonna mention too, because I said it earlier, but I've had to warranty these out because the O-rings go bad. So now I just replaced those O-rings. This Honda one actually comes with 2 O-rings. I take the bottom one out because it makes it almost impossible to get it onto the reservoir. So now I just put the 1 O-ring on there and I just replace it. So that one's gonna need replaced because it pinched in there and kind of peeled out, and so that's why it was getting close to the top and overflowing. Thankfully, I was recording and caught it in time. So now that that's pressurized, that's about normally where you'll see it stop once you fill the system. Now we're gonna lift the car. I won't bore you with that. We'll come back when I have the car lifted. On to the last one. In most cases, I fill up this entire thing plus some by the time I get to the last wheel. And so once that's done, I'll close the bleeder. Obviously, I'll put my caps back on. Normally what I do is I'll just take a set of needle nose pliers around with me, or I'll do it beforehand and just take all of those off all at once, and then I'll just set them inside the wheel here. And that way they're out of the way, and then I'll just take my little bleeder wrench, run around and open it up, and there you go. So as you can see, that one's already filling up at the bottom there. Won't take very long and we'll be done. So I'm done bleeding the system. You close off your bottom valve here. I'll just take the hose off because it doesn't really matter. And then you relieve the pressure, which pulls the fluid out of this line, pulls it back in, which isn't much. It doesn't pull it all back in, but gets most of it. Now what I like to do is I'll open that back valve, and then I'll also open this as well. Seems like it gets a little bit of extra pressure out. I don't want any pressure in the system at all sitting in there over time. I want to bleed all of that out of there, and so that helps. And then obviously we'll undo our adapter here. can be a pain sometimes, but we got it. And then we'll put our hose back on, which normally it's not all twisted up like this, so I'm not really sure what happened there, but whatever. It's only because I'm trying to record a video. That's the way that works, right? All right, so that's back on there. I'll take my adapter. I'll take a little blue rag, wipe that out a little bit. I've got to replace that O-ring before I use that the next time. And I'll put this back with my adapters. All right, so now that and I'm sorry you don't actually see anything, you just hear me talking. Now that that is back, so technically this is actually really clean fluid in here, cleaner than normal. What I'll normally do is, after I'm done doing a brake fluid flush, this one was done back in 2017. Honda recommends it be done every 3 years. It's a little behind, so it's not that big of a deal. I just started working on this customer's car not too long ago, so we're getting caught up on some stuff. But anyways, normally what I'll do is I will take my Mighty Vac, suck all that fluid back out again, and then refill with new fluid. But as I said, that one's in pretty good shape, and so is his little screen. So I will wipe that out and make sure that is clean. We'll put that back in there. And then one last thing that I like to do after I put that top on there is I will spray this off a little bit, just to make sure that it's cleaned up, everything's wiped down. It looks like you don't have to do this. This is not something you have to do. I like to just have that extra little added touch. It doesn't change the actual service itself. It just shows that you care. But again, it's not like you're doing wrong if you don't wipe that down. It is just a nice little added touch. So that's it. Start to finish, brake fluid service. Fairly straightforward, nothing overly complicated. Appreciate y'all watching. Take it easy.